E-cigarettes and Juuls are now so popular with teenagers nationwide. The Food and Drug Administration is stepping in to cut down on underage usage. Here in Knox County, almost 15% of high school students reported they use some type of e-cigarette. 10 News reporter Shannon Smith tells us what state leaders are doing to stop it.
Vaping, juuling, using any e-cigarette. Some teens say it's a cool way to smoke without tobacco.
E-cigarettes are probably less harmful than regular cigarettes, but they are a pathway to addiction to cigarettes.
The FDA announced Thursday a crackdown on e-cigarettes, making kid-friendly flavors harder to come by, so the taste isn't as great. The goal is to cut back on the teen use, as many worry these devices are serving as gateway drugs to tobacco.
It's one of the concerns that we have of multiple drugs that young people use.
The Metro Drug Coalition reports almost 15% of Knox County high schoolers use e-cigs, and it's unclear if there are more who juul.
You don't have the vapor that you have with other devices, so they're actually much easier to conceal.
The marketed alternative to smoking looks like a flash drive and contains nicotine. To stop what the FDA is calling a vaping epidemic, State Representative Bill Dunn pushed a bill last session that would treat e-cigs like cigarettes.
It would mirror a lot of our smoking laws that wherever you're prohibited to smoke, you'd also be prohibited to vape.
It got stuck in committee, but they'll try again. Lawmakers say education in preventing e-cig and Juul use is just as important as making the devices harder to get.
We need to talk about prevention early on, and education is a huge part of all of this.
Shannon Smith, 10 News.
And the FDA says protecting our youth is one of the highest priorities, especially now in regards to e-cigarettes.